Every day, the old man sat at the same bus stop, his weathered hands resting on his cane, his eyes distant, staring down the empty road. The bus never seemed to come when he expected it, but he never left. His gray hair and wrinkled face made him look fragile, but there was something steady about him, like the earth that held the roots of an ancient tree. People came and went from the bus stop, but he never spoke to anyone. He was a part of the place, just another fixture, like the faded bench he sat on, or the worn-out street sign above his head. He'd sit there, day after day, waiting for something, or perhaps someone. The way he looked at the road made it seem like he was waiting for a long time. No one ever asked him why he was always there. People didn't often talk to strangers, that's just how it was. And no one seemed to wonder why, not even the bus driver. The man was just another person on the street, or so it seemed. Then, one afternoon, a girl came to the bus stop, her shoes clicking against the pavement as she approached. She had dark hair tied in a neat ponytail and wore a bright yellow backpack, the kind that looked too big for her small frame. She was new to the stop, her eyes curious as she looked around. She glanced at the old man. He was sitting as always, staring ahead, unmoving. The girl hesitated for a moment. She wasn't sure if she should talk to him, but something about the stillness around him made her want to know more. Finally, she couldn't help it. She stepped closer and asked, "Excuse me, sir, why do you come here every day?" The old man didn't answer right away. His eyes remained on the road, but his lips parted slightly, as if he was deciding whether to speak. Then, softly, he said, "I'm waiting for a bus, but it never comes." The girl tilted her head, puzzled. "A bus? But there's no bus coming. I've been waiting here for a while, and I haven't seen one either." The old man's eyes flickered over to her for the first time. His gaze was soft, but it carried a weight, like the years of memories he held inside. "Ah," he sighed, his voice carrying the softness of a forgotten time. "This bus is a special one. A promise, you see." The girl was quiet. She didn't know what to say. She wasn't sure if he was just talking to himself, or if he really meant something deeper. "Promise?" she asked, her voice gentle, not sure if she wanted to push further. He nodded slowly, his hands tightening around his cane. "Yes, a promise to my wife. She asked me to wait, and I do. Every day, just like I promised." The girl stood there, staring at the old man. She didn't know what to say. She hadn't expected an answer like that. She had figured he was just some lonely old guy who had nothing better to do than sit at the bus stop all day. But now, hearing his words, something in his voice made her pause. "Your wife?" she asked quietly, her curiosity pulling her in. The old man smiled faintly, though there was sadness in his eyes. "Yes, she was the love of my life. We were married for many years, but she's gone now." His voice cracked a little, but he quickly cleared his throat and continued. "Before she passed away, she made me promise her something. She told me to wait at this bus stop every day, and that one day, the bus would come, and I would be able to fulfill my promise." The girl furrowed her brow, still not fully understanding. What kind of bus was it? Where was it supposed to go? The old man shook his head, his eyes distant again, lost in memories. "It wasn't about the bus, it was about the waiting. She wanted me to promise her that no matter how long it took, I would keep my word." The girl stood there, unsure of what to say. The old man's words had a heaviness to them, like the weight of years of grief and love wrapped together. She felt a strange tug in her chest. "Do you think the bus will ever come?" she asked, hesitantly. He paused, and for a moment, the world around them seemed to stand still. The sound of the distant traffic, the wind, the rustling of leaves, all faded as the old man looked up at her. His eyes filled with both sadness and hope. "I don't know," he said softly, "but I will wait. I promised her I would." The girl didn't know what to say. She could feel the deep love in his voice, the kind of love that didn't disappear, even with time. She didn't know what it was like to lose someone like that, but she could sense that this promise meant everything to him. "Why don't you go home, maybe rest? You don't have to wait out here forever," she suggested gently. The old man's face softened, but he didn't answer right away. He simply stared at the road again, his hands gripping his cane. The girl felt a pang of sorrow for him. She wished she could do something to make him feel better, to ease his pain, but she wasn't sure how. You see, the old man began again, his voice barely above a whisper. I can't stop waiting. I can't break the promise. Not after everything. It's the only thing left I have of her. The girl looked at him with new understanding. It wasn't just about waiting for a bus, it was about holding on to something, keeping a connection with someone he loved deeply, even after they were gone. She thought about her own life for a moment. She had her parents, her friends, her school, and a world ahead of her. But this old man, in his quiet grief, was holding on to something that meant more than anything to him. She wasn't sure if she understood the whole thing, but she felt the weight of his love, and it made her heart ache. I don't think I can stop you from waiting, she said softly, after a pause. But maybe I can help. The old man turned his head slowly, his gaze meeting hers with a flicker of curiosity. Help? The girl nodded. Maybe there's a way we can do this together. The old man looked at her for a moment, his brow furrowed in confusion. Do you understand what I'm saying, child? His voice was low, but there was no bitterness in it, only the weight of time and loss. You can't help me bring her back. There's nothing anyone can do about that. The girl's heart squeezed. She didn't want to take away his hope, but she felt like she could do something more. No, I can't bring her back. But maybe I can help you remember her in a way that makes waiting easier. The old man's eyes softened, though his face remained uncertain. Remember her? What do you mean? The girl sat down on the bench next to him, her legs swinging slightly. Well, you said the promise was to wait for the bus, right? But I think the promise was also about remembering her, about keeping her alive in your heart. She looked at him with a quiet determination. What if instead of just waiting, you tell me about her, about your life together? Maybe that's what the bus is, not the vehicle, but the memories. He blinked, clearly surprised by her suggestion. For a long moment, the old man didn't speak. Then, as if considering her words carefully, he sighed and glanced at the ground. She was everything, he said slowly. His voice cracked, but he didn't seem to mind. Her name was Mary. She was the kindest woman I ever knew. We met when we were both young, just out of school. She had these bright, laughing eyes, and a smile that could light up a whole room. He chuckled softly to himself, lost in the memory. She made me feel like I could be more than just a simple man, like there was a purpose to everything. The girl listened, leaning forward, as if she were hearing a secret she was meant to know. She could see the shift in the old man's expression as he spoke about Mary. It was as if the sadness in his heart lightened a little when he remembered her joy. We used to go on walks by the lake, he continued, every Saturday, without fail. We would talk about everything and nothing, and it was enough to just be together. Sometimes, we would sit on the dock and watch the sun set. She'd always say the same thing: the day may end, but love never does. His voice softened at the memory, his gaze far away again. I don't know what I would have done without her. The girl didn't know how to respond, so she just listened. The old man was talking about Mary, like she was still there, like the love between them had never really gone away. It was beautiful, in a quiet, almost painful way. Finally the girl spoke, her voice gentle. That sounds like a love that doesn't end, not even with her being gone. The old man nodded, a faint smile tugging at the corners of his lips. No, it doesn't. But it's hard. It's hard when you're left alone, with only memories. The girl thought for a moment, and then, impulsively, she asked, do you have any pictures of her? Maybe we could look at them together. It might help you remember all the good things. The old man paused, and for a moment she thought he might say no. But then, with a quiet grunt, he reached into his coat pocket and pulled out an old faded photograph. It was crinkled at the edges, yellowed with age, but still clear enough to see the two of them standing together on a beach, smiling at the camera. She was always the one with the camera, he said, his voice thick with emotion. I was never much for pictures, but she loved to capture moments, even the small ones. This was taken the day we got married. The girl took the picture carefully from his hands, studying it. It was clear from their faces that they shared a deep connection, a bond that was evident, even in the way they stood together. The love between them shone brightly, even in a simple snapshot. It's beautiful, she whispered, handing it back to him. The old man took the picture, his fingers brushing against the photograph, softly, as if he could still feel her presence in it. It is. She was perfect, They sat in silence for a while, the picture resting in his hands, as the girl thought about what he had said. The bus wasn't just a bus, was it? It was a way to honor the promise, a way to carry the love for someone who was no longer there. She could feel the weight of that love in her chest, and it made her realize something important. Love didn't end just because someone passed away. It lived on in the stories, in the memories, and in the quiet moments like this one. After some time, the girl stood up, brushing the dust off her pants. I think you're right, she said. Maybe waiting isn't about the bus after all. It's about the love you promised to keep. The old man smiled, his eyes shining with something that wasn't just sadness anymore. You're a wise child, he said softly. Thank you. Maybe it's not about waiting for the bus. Maybe it's about remembering her every day, just like she asked me to. The days that followed were different. The old man still sat at the same bus stop, but something had shifted. The girl came by every day, just like she had promised, and they would sit together, talking more and more about Mary, about the life the old man had shared with her. The old man told stories, funny ones and sad ones, memories of quiet afternoons, and moments that had once seemed insignificant, but now meant everything. Sometimes, when the girl wasn't there, the old man would sit silently with the picture of Mary in his hands, as if feeling her presence beside him. And when the girl came, he would put the picture away and smile, ready to share another memory. They talked about the times Mary had made them both laugh, about the adventures they'd had, and even the hard moments, times when life hadn't been kind to them. One day, as they were talking, the old man asked her, "Do you have someone special in your life? A friend, a family member, someone who makes you smile like Mary made me smile?" The girl was quiet for a moment, thinking about her own life. She didn't have the kind of deep, enduring love that the old man had shared with Mary, but she had something that mattered to her, her family, her friends, and even the simple kindness of strangers, who made the world feel just a little bit warmer. "I have my parents," she said finally, "and I have friends at school, who make me laugh, and I guess you could say, I'm learning that love doesn't just come in one kind of way. It's not always about one person, it's about all the people and moments that make life special." The old man smiled softly at her words. "You're wise, my girl. You understand something that's taken me a long time to realize." He paused, looking down at his cane, turning it slowly in his hands. "Love isn't just one moment, it's everything that's been, everything that is, and everything that will be." The girl nodded, understanding what he meant. She didn't need to be the one waiting at the bus stop to understand the power of his love. She could see it in the way he spoke of Mary, in the way he shared his memories. Love had many forms, and the old man was showing her that even in grief, love didn't end, it only changed, deepening with time. One afternoon, as they sat together, the girl noticed something new. The bus stop wasn't as empty anymore. People came and went, some pausing to smile at the old man, others offering small words of kindness. A few even sat with him for a while, listening to his stories. It was as if the love he had for Mary had spread to others, touching their hearts, making them want to connect with him, to be a part of the quiet legacy he carried. The girl realized then that the bus wasn't just a place. It was an idea, a symbol of all the things the old man had held on to. It wasn't about waiting for something that might never come. It was about remembering, about finding new ways to love, even when life had taken the one person who meant the most. One day, as the girl was about to leave, the old man stopped her. "I don't think I'll be waiting for the bus anymore," he said, his voice steady, but filled with the peace of a decision made. She looked at him, surprised. "What do you mean, you've been waiting for so long?" He smiled softly. "I've been waiting for Mary's promise, yes, but I think she would want me to stop waiting for something that isn't coming. Instead, I'll keep my promise by living the love we shared. I'll carry it with me, in my stories, in my heart." The girl smiled back, feeling a warmth spread through her. "I think she'd be proud of you." "I hope so," the old man said, his eyes twinkling. "I hope she knows I've kept my word, just like I said I would." And with that, the girl left the bus stop with a new understanding of love, of waiting, and of the connections that bind us all. She knew that while the old man might not have been waiting for the bus anymore, he had found something even more important, a way to honor the promise he made, not just to Mary, but to the love they had shared for all those years. As the girl walked away, she glanced back one last time. The old man was sitting there, just as he always had, but now there was a peace about him. It wasn't the end of his story, but the beginning of a new chapter, one where love wasn't bound by waiting. It was free, and it was endless. The days grew warmer, as spring began to settle into the town, and the old man's routine at the bus stop slowly transformed. It wasn't about waiting anymore, but about living with the memories he had cherished for so long. The girl still came to visit, and their conversations continued to deepen. They talked about life, love, and the beauty of the little things. Sometimes they just sat together in silence, each lost in their own thoughts, but understanding something that words couldn't quite capture. One afternoon, as the sunlight began to soften, the girl arrived at the bus stop and found the old man sitting on the bench, a piece of paper in his hands. He looked up when he saw her, his eyes filled with a quiet excitement. "I've been thinking," he said, his voice eager but calm. "I want to do something for Mary, something that will keep her alive, in a way that others can feel her too." The girl tilted her head, curious. "What do you mean?" The old man smiled, the wrinkles around his eyes deepening as he beamed. "I want to write down everything I remember about her. All the little things, the way she laughed, the way she held my hand, the places we visited. I want to leave behind a story, something that will help others understand how special she was." The girl's heart warmed at his words. She had always known that Mary was more than just a memory for him. She was a part of him, a part of his soul. And now the old man wanted to share that part with the world. "That sounds like a wonderful idea," she said softly. "Your love for her is so strong. It's like a story that should be told. It's the kind of thing that makes the world a little brighter." The old man's eyes shimmered with unshed tears, but his smile never wavered. "I've spent so many years keeping it to myself, but I don't think that's what Mary would want. She wanted others to know the kind of love we had. She wanted it to be remembered." The girl nodded, understanding. "Maybe you could even share your story with the people who come to the bus stop. You've touched so many lives already, just by sharing your memories with me." For the first time, the old man seemed to consider the idea. Perhaps it might help others see that love is something we carry with us, no matter where we go. Even after someone is gone, their love stays. And so, the old man began to write. Each day he brought his notebook to the bus stop, jotting down memories, little pieces of his life with Mary. He wrote about the first time they met, the moments of joy they shared, the challenges they faced together, and the quiet moments when everything felt perfect. He wrote about their walks by the lake, the sunsets they watched, and the promises they made. As he wrote, he felt a peace settle in his heart, as if the act of writing was a way of honoring the love he had carried for so long. The girl continued to visit, often sitting beside him while he wrote, reading his words over his shoulder, and offering small encouragements. "I think she would be proud of you," she would say, whenever he showed her a new page. One day, the old man looked up from his writing, and smiled at the girl. "I think it's time to share it. I've written enough. It's ready." "Ready?" the girl asked, her voice full of curiosity. "Ready to be shared," he said, his voice steady with a sense of finality. "I'm going to read it aloud. Not just to you, but to anyone who comes here. It's my gift to Mary, and to the people who might need to hear about love." And so, he began. Each afternoon, as the sun began to dip below the horizon, the old man would sit at the bus stop and read from his notebook. People who passed by would stop and listen, drawn in by the quiet power of his words. The girls standing beside him would watch the faces of strangers as they listened to his story. Some would smile, some would cry, and some would simply stand there, taking it all in. But all of them were touched by the deep love that radiated from his voice. Over time, the old man's story spread. It wasn't just about Mary anymore. It was about the kind of love that never fades, the kind that stays with you, even after the person you loved is gone. The love that lives on in memories, in stories, and in the way we carry the people we've lost with us every day. As the months passed, the old man began to feel a quiet satisfaction. He had kept his promise to Mary, not just by waiting, but by living. By sharing their love, he had honored her in a way that was more meaningful than he had ever imagined. And as for the girl,
she learned more from him than she ever expected. She learned that love wasn't just about being with someone in the moment, it was about holding on to the pieces of them that lived inside you, even after they were gone. One day, as the old man finished reading another chapter of his story, the girl stood up and smiled at him.
You've done it, she said softly. You've given her the greatest gift, and you've given all of us something to remember too. The old man looked at her, his eyes filled with gratitude. Thank you, my dear. You helped me see that the waiting wasn't the most important part. It was the love that never ends. And with that, they sat together in the quiet. The bus stop, now not just a place for waiting, but a place for remembering. A place where love lived on, both in the old man's heart and in the hearts of those who came to listen.